took a tank. Supply for loan engineering. Promised Donald that she will pay the mortgage. What would Donald be considered? A straw buyer. All the following are true about the FTC red flags rule, except it requires lenders to create specific disposal policies to ensure borrowers' information is properly disposed of. Protects sensitive personal data. All of the following are true about it requires implementation of a written plan to detect and prevent industry theft. The penalty for non-compliance is $3,500. All of the following are true about the FTC, except, yeah, the penalty is higher than $3,500. Lucy has taken the national test component with the uniform state test 2 consecutive times and failed. How long must she wait before she can take it? It's 30 days. 2 consecutive times. You can take it 3 times before you have to take it. It's 180 days. Lola's working on her loan for her sister. Joan, she knows Joan is currently receiving child support, and Joan has authorized Lola to use that income to qualify her. Lola also knows that her nephew is 17 years old, and once he turns 18, Joan's child support payment will drop dramatically. Lola decides to indicate on the 1003 that Joan's oldest child is 14 instead of 17 to help Joan qualify for the loan. This would be considered misrepresentation. I mean, it would be actual fraud because she's lying. She's defrauding the bank. It is a misrepresentation, but it is fraud. Luke is a mortgage loan originator, and he is working with a new borrower. Luke needs to determine how much the home is worth versus the loan amount that the new borrower is requesting. Luke is a mortgage loan originator, and he's working with a new borrower. Luke needs to determine how much the home is worth versus the loan amount that the new borrower is requesting. What is Luke attempting to determine? The borrower's debt to income ratio. Determine how much the home is worth versus the loan amount. That would be LTV. Loans, borrower's loan to value. LTV. What event occurs when the 3-day writer session is passed? Closing. It's not underwriting. Because you have to issue it 3 days before closing. What type of mortgage requires upfront mortgage insurance and monthly mortgage insurance? What type of mortgage requires upfront mortgage insurance and monthly mortgage insurance? That's going to be an FHA. Because conventional requires PMI. I don't know what USDA requires. VAs is their origination fee. Alexandra is a licensed mortgage loan originator, and she works for a licensed mortgage lender. Alexandra also works part-time as a mortgage loan originator at her friend's brokerage. Is Alexandra doing anything wrong? Is a licensed MLO, and she works for a licensed MLO mortgage lender. Alexandra also works part-time as a mortgage loan originator at her friend's brokerage. Licensed. No, it says she's licensed. So she is licensed. It's not properly licensed. No, Alexandra's properly licensed. She is properly licensed, that's true. Alexandra can work for one company at a time. I mean, as long as they're not competing companies, why would that be an issue? Simultaneous for 2 companies, which is prohibited. I don't think it is, as long as that because it doesn't specify if the brokerage is using them as the primary lender. Let's see. FHA allows seller concessions. What the maximum seller concession of FHA loans? 3%. 3%. No, FHA allows seller concessions. What is it? The maximum amount? That's 6%, right? No, it's 3%. It can go over 3%. Reginald works full-time job school teacher and makes $43,000 a year. He also has been working a part-time job for the last 2 years, working 10 hours a week at $10.50 an hour. His wife Julia works as a medical assistant, makes $22.50 an hour, and works 45 hours a week. What is their gross monthly income? What is their gross monthly income? So you have 43 divided by 12, so 3583. Has been working part-time job for the last 10 years. 10 hours a week at 1050. So it's 1050 times 10 times 52 divided by 12. Why is it not showing my history? So 45, where is my, okay, here we go. So we'll just redo that. So 43 divided by 12, and then you have 10 times 10.5 times 52 divided by 12. So that's going to be 3583.33 plus 455. And then Julia 2250 times 45. 45 times 52 divided by 12. So it's plus, what is their gross monthly income? It's going to be 84.25. What type of loan requires that a borrower have MIP? That's going to be FHA loans, because they have the UPMIP and the MIP. Hugo's looking to refinance his current property. He currently pays $1,200 a month on his home. He also pays $500 a month in child support, $200 for his cell phone, $300 for his student loans, $150 for his credit cards, and $200 for his car insurance. Hugo makes $4,000 a month. What is Hugo's gross total debt ratio? God bless, I can't speak. Let's see. So he pays $1,200 a month on his home, plus $500 for child support. That's court ordered. Cell phone doesn't count. So divided by 4,000, he's 53%. There's a lender working in a large metropolitan area, but currently they are targeting low-income neighborhood and charging more for their loans because the individuals in the area are mostly African Americans. This would be considered redlining. The Uniform Residential Loan Application, known as the 1003, for the purpose of complying with HMDA rules, a mortgage loan originator must ask all the following questions except marital status, race, sex, ethnicity. When considering a VA loan, what additional type of income must be considered? Residual income. A licensed mortgage lender may not do which of the following in their advertising? Let's take a look. Hold on. Real quick. Oh, we got spanked. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. A licensed mortgage lender may not do which of the following in their advertising: publish an advertisement with the exact name as it appears on the license. They can do that. Shows insignia, designated membership in a particular state association. They can do that. Publish an advertisement that does not include lender's unique identifier. They can't do that. They have to. All the following would be considered a trigger term except low down payments for qualified borrowers. Section 35 TILA covers what type of loan. That's going to be higher cost. Right? Section 32 is price. Section 35 is costs, I think. Yeah. What type of scheme is usually occurring when there's a non-existent property? Air loan. What is used to buy down a person's interest rate and cost 1% of the loan amount? A discount point. What would the minimum down payment on a VA loan of $450,000 be? 0. They can do 100%. Carlisle currently has an arm which is going to adjust for the first time. The margin on his arm is 2.25. The arm is tied to SOFR, which SS currently sitting at 125. What would his interest rate be if adjusted today? So his margin on the arm is 225. It's tied to the SOFR, which SS currently sitting at 125. Just for the first time. But we don't know what his cap is. So we don't know the cap. We don't know we're going to adjust for the first time. So we'd have to assume that if it wasn't violating anything, it would be 3.5. Because that would be the fully indexed rate. What federal law details licensing requirements for mortgage loan originators? That's going to be... Which federal law details licensing requirements? SAFE Act. Which of the following is not true about the Dodd-Frank Act? It expanded consumer protection on high-cost mortgages. It created the NMLS. Created CFPP. Prohibits unfair lending practices. Yeah. Did it create that? It didn't make NMLS. But it brought NMLS under the umbrella, right? RESPA technically prohibits unfair lending practices. But we'll go with NMLS because we think it, I don't think it created NMLS. Which of the following situations would be considered prohibited act or practice? Tyler discusses with the borrower particular rates and terms that they qualify for. That's allowed. Eileen, a mortgage loan originator, provides an additional appraiser comparables with the hopes that the appraiser might change the value on a borrower's appraisal. Laurie, an independent contract processor, renews her mortgage loan originator license. That's allowed to do. Riley, working as a processor for a mortgage lender, discusses specific options for locking in borrowers on. Working as a processor for a mortgage lender, discusses specific options for locking a borrower's loan. I don't think a processor can do that because they're not licensed. Allie is looking to purchase a new property. She currently makes $3,200 a month gross. What would the pity payment she could have on a new property, assuming conventional mortgage preferred? So that would be 3,200 times 2.8. Her pity payment would be $896. Property. Yeah, that's her pity payment. All the following applies. The right of recession accepts. Lenders are required to provide 2 copies of the notice to rescind the closing. That's true. All these applies except borrower has 4 days from the choosing to rescind the loan. It's 3 days. What rule prohibits loan originators from being paid based on terms of a loan? That's a low comp. Which of the following would not be considered change of circumstance and allow the lender to redisclose the loan estimate? Would not be considered change. An act of God, that's a change of circumstance. Borrower's appraisal comes in low and continue with the loan. They need to change FHA. That would be a change of circumstance. Change of circumstance. The initial loan estimate indicates the locked interest rate, but the MLO forgot to lock the interest rate and goes up the next day, so the loan rediscloses the loan estimate with new rate. Yeah, that wouldn't be a change of circumstance. You would, because if you couldn't account for the difference, you just pay it. An IRL type of loan. Streamline is an FHA refi. No. Oh, crap. It's not this one either, is it? Streamline loan. Streamline is just a refi, though. It's a product of a refi. I think. Which of the following is not one of the 3 rules outlined within the GLBA? Which of the following is not one of the 3 rules outlined in the GLBA? GLBA had the Mars rule. Pretexting is where they call, pretend to be someone else. Opt out, that would be pretexting. Disposal rule, safeguards, those 3 are all inclusive. Pretexting is what's not included. That would be covered under, is it red flags? Red flags rule is part of what law? FACRA. FACTA is a part of FACRA. FACRA includes red flags. MAP rule has to do with advertising. Shit has to do with advertising. Graham GLBA has to do with predatory lending and consumer disclosures. A lender has a policy that only individuals between the age 25 and 45 can receive home loans of over 400,000. What would this be considered? Discrimination. No, hold on. So it's not, they're not directly excluding people outside of that. Only individuals between the age owns, well, it is discrimination. It's a policy though. So by having that policy, they're creating, so it's disparate impact. If it's a policy in place that causes discrimination, that's disparate impact. If it's treatment of individuals who look different, that's disparate treatment. Both are forms of discrimination, though. What type of mortgage requires a funding fee? That's going to be a VA. Andrew has been paying interest-only payments on his mortgage of $500 a month for the last 10 years. The interest rate alone was 4% at year 15. He will be required to pay a balloon payment, assuming that the balloon payment is what remains of the balance. The principal balance at the time of the loan close was $172,000. What will be the balloon payment? Andrew has been paying interest-only payments on his mortgage of $500 a month for the last 10 years. Okay, so $500 a month. So he's paid $6,000 in interest on the last 10 years. The interest rate on the loan was 4% at year 15. Was 4%. At year 15, he will be required to pay balloon payment, assuming that the balloon payment is what remains of the balance. Principal balance at the time of the loan close was $172. What will be the balloon payment? So it'd be $172. If he's paying interest only, he's been paying interest only payments on the mortgage of $500 a month for the past 10 years. Interest rate on the loan was 4%. At year 15, he'll be required to pay a balloon payment, assuming the balloon payment remains. Assuming that the balloon payment is what remains of the balance. The principal balance at the time of the loan was $172. So if he's only paying interest only, he's not paying off any principal. The application for a mortgage loan originator The application for a mortgage loan originator would be denied for all the following reasons except the applicant has foreclosure on the credit, the applicant was convicted of felony 5 years ago, the applicant had a mortgage loan originator license revoked. Can't do it. 5 years ago, was convicted. Yeah, had a foreclosure on the credit report 4 years ago. And seriously delinquent accounts in the past 3 years. It would just depend on the delinquency of the accounts, but Kay is behind on her mortgage payments and it's considered that she will soon be going into foreclosure process. Kay receives a phone call from a company stating that they can help her avoid foreclosures if she pays them $3,000 up front to discuss options with her. Their servicer. What type of scheme is this? This is foreclosure rescue scheme, banned by the Mars Act. A lender services a large metropolitan area but refuses to lend in one specific area because the people in that area are low income. This is the redlining. Michael does not have enough money to put 20% down on a conventional loan to avoid PMI, but really can't afford the payment with the additional cost. Instead of looking for additional money to put down in cash, Michael contacts a second lender who lends him the additional money he needs to put the 20% down. The second lender and the loan Michael receives is never disclosed to the first lender. What would the second loan be considered? A silent second. Trevor just received a promotion at work that is going to require him to move across the country. What type of loan might Trevor use to help him between selling his previous home and buying his new one? That would be a bridge mortgage. When an individual is reviewing a loan file to determine that the risk for the lender and determine whether the borrower meets the requirements for the loan, they are considered to doing what for the loan? When an individual is reviewing a loan file to determine that risk involved to the lender and to determine whether the borrower meets the requirements for the loan, they are considered to be doing what for the loan? Underwriting. Which federal law restricts the use of credit reports and requires accuracy on credit reports? That's FACRA. Use of credit reports and requires accuracy on records. That's FACRA. What law requires that cash transaction of more than $5,000 be reported? FTC. Red flags? No. Dodd-Frank. It's either RESPA or BSA. Well, I think it's BSA because it's banking related. Under what federal legislation is a lender required to allow a borrower to opt out of having their non-public personal information disclosed to a third party? That's under what federal legislation is a lender required to allow a borrower to opt out? That's GLBA. Agatha wants to purchase 2 discount points, and there are 2 origination points on her loan. The sales price of the property is $150, and she's putting 10% down on the property. How much are the discount points and origination points going to cost her? So, 150 times 1. So 150 minus 15,000. 2 discount points. And assuming the points, the origination points are the same, 2 and 2 times 2. So, how much are the discount points originally cost? $5,400. You know, out of curiosity, I'd be curious. Yeah, oh yeah, they try and trick you for sure. Daniel's looking to qualify his borrower for a conventional loan. He's attempting to determine the borrower's back-end debt-to-income ratio. What is the preferred back-end DTI that Daniel can use on a conventional loan? It's 36%. Arnold is a licensed mortgage loan originator and looking to renew his license. By what date does Arnold have to renew his license before it would expire? December 31st. By what date does Arnold have? So, December 31st. What law promotes informed use of credit requiring disclosure of the APR to the borrower? What law promotes informed use of credit by requiring disclosure of the APR to the borrower? I think it's DUO. Which of the following is not one of the new disclosures required under TRID? That's required, that's required, that's required, that's not required. It's not required. TRID doesn't require adverse action, that's FACRA. Section 8 or the demographic information addendum on the 1003 is where information regarding what federal law goes. HMDA. Which of the following must have an MLL license? Lola is working as an independent contractor underwriter and is underwriting loans. Yes. June, who's working as an attorney and negotiating terms on loan for her client as part of her job as an attorney. Jackson, who's negotiating terms of a loan for on his primary residence. William, who extends credit solely on timeshare plans. No. As an independent contractor. I mean, it doesn't specify if she's 1099, but I would assume so. Which federal law prohibits someone from acquiring about childbearing? That's a COA. Jamie is looking to refinance his property. He currently owes $55,000 on his first mortgage and pays 4% interest rate on it. He also owes $5,000 on a HELOC, paying 6% interest on it. He wants to obtain some cash out and is expecting to get at least $30,000. The appraisal came in at $200,000. He also has a tax lien of $1,200 on the property and $4,000 in credit card debt. He'd also like to eliminate. He qualifies for an 80% LTV, and the closing costs are going to be $3,000 on the new loan. How much cash will he have available? That's a freaking mouthful and a half. Okay, so he currently owes $55,000 on the mortgage. Rate doesn't matter. $5,000 on the HELOC, paying 6%. So that's 60 G's. The appraisal came in at $200,000. Okay, so let's math it up real quick. Okay, so 55 plus 5, so it's 60. So 60 G's is what he owes currently. And he also has a tax lien of $1,200 on the property and $4,000 in credit card debt he'd like to eliminate. Well, so minus the 60 G's. The appraisal came in at $200,000. $200,000. Yeah, so he's got $100,000 in available. Also has a tax lien on it, so we'll call that $1,200. And he has a tax lien on the property and $4,000 credit minus $4,000 minus 3 plus 91.8, because you have to take care of the lien for the refi. Alright. How much cash will Jamie, so how much will he have available? So after he uses his lien, his credit, and his closing costs, he'd have 91.8. I feel like that's right. Anna's looking to purchase a new home. She lives in a small town under 20,000 people. What loan program would be a good option for her? Anna's looking to purchase a new home. She lives in a small town under 20,000 people will upon gross. I mean, what loan program? Purchasing a home. She lives in a small town, under 20,000 people. It wouldn't matter. I mean, USDA loan has income requirements, but I don't think they care. It has to be rural area. The VA loan doesn't say if she's a veteran, so that wouldn't really help. FHA loan doesn't really specify outside of just that. And if they're using comps, that could potentially screw her. Just a conventional loan. A reverse mortgage has which of the following features? Negative AM. Neg AM. George has a loan that is amortizing over 30 years, but he will be required to pay remaining principal in 15 years. What is this called? It's a balloon payment. Which best describes the total debt ratio? Which best describes the total debt ratio? The total cost of all debt divided by borrower's net monthly income. Total cost of all debt. Total debt ratio. Total cost of all debt divided by borrower's gross monthly income. Which federal law was put into place to improve consumers' access to credit information? FACTA. Access to credit information. Hannah is choosing to escrow her taxes and insurance on her new home. She paid some towards the escrow account at closing. She's wondering where she'll get information from her servicer on her escrow account. Hannah is choosing to escrow her taxes and insurance on her new home. Choosing to escrow her taxes and insurance on her new home. She paid some towards her escrow account at closing. She is wondering when she'll get her information from her servicer on her escrow account. RSL requires servicers to provide initial escrow account statement within, I think it's 45 days. Right? No, it's 30 days. 30 days. No. Moved in by 60. What types of loans are governed by HOEPA? High price loans. Section 32. Which of the following is not a penalty that state regulatory authority can levy against licensee? Imprisonment, license revocation, restitution, license suspension. Imprisonment. They can imprison you. According to the QM rule, what is the maximum percentage limit on the total obligation DTI ratio for a general qualified mortgage? Total obligation. 36%. Who insures FHA loans? HUD. Right? FHA operates under HUD? These guys don't insure. What type of fraud scheme usually includes a get-rich-quick real estimate seminar? Churning. It's not redlining. It's either illegal property flipping or churning. I think it's churning. Which of the following is not required as part of the application process for mortgage loan? What type of appraisal compares multiple similar recently sold properties to a borrower's property to determine the value? That's a cost approach. A sales comparison. It's sales costs. Which of the following would describe a non-conforming loan? Non-conforming loans follow Fannie Mae. Do not follow subprime loans. Doesn't mean it's subprime if it's not conforming. Just means that it's not conforming to their guidelines. So you're not using AUS and you can't sell that paper off the secondary market. When an individual is collecting documents for the purpose of completing the loan file, what are they considered to be doing to the loan? When an individual is collecting documents for the purpose of completing the loan, they are considered to be doing processing. What two pieces of information is needed to determine what an adjusted interest rate will be on an adjustable rate mortgage? Index and margin. Margin in the index. The following is true about an adjustable rate mortgage. Adjustable rate mortgage always includes interest-only periods. It can. Adjustable rate mortgages payments never change. That's not true. Adjustable rate mortgages interest rates are fixed. Not true. Adjustable rate mortgages interest rates are not fixed. That is true. Are not fixed. Liza is purchasing a new home. The purchase price of the home is $200,000. She has put down $2,000 in earnest money. If she is receiving FHA financing and only putting the minimum down, how much more will she need for her down payment? Six jizzle. Oh. No. Boom. Under what law does the ability to repay fall under? Son of a bitch. ATR falls under. I want to say it's TILA. Let's stick with RSL. Hank just received an appraisal fee from his borrower. What type of account should Hank put this appraisal fee until it is paid to the appraiser? In an escrow account, I would assume. Logan wants to buy an investment property, but knows that he will get better terms on loan if he tells the lender that this is a primary residence. What type of fraud would Logan be committing? Logan wants to buy an investment property, knows he will occupancy fraud. Okay. According to the Mortgage Disclosure Improvement Act, what is the waiting period once initial disclosures are provided to the borrowers before the loan can close? Initial disclosures. Doesn't say specifically. Let's see. According to the Mortgage Disclosure Act, what is the waiting period once the initial disclosures are provided? 7 days. Why is my headset? Travis, under ECOA, the lender is required to provide the borrower a reason for denial. How long does the lender have to provide this reason? 30 days. Travis is disclosing an origination fee of $1,200 on the initial loan estimate. What is the maximum origination fee can change between the loan estimate and the disclosing disclosure? 10%. Fee. There's a zero tolerance. Can change between the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. What is the maximum origination fee can change? Because the customer has no say in that. So you can't change your origination. Yeah, it stays it. Rebecca just recently passed the bar exam and became a licensed attorney. She's looking to purchase a new home, and her mortgage loan originator suggests that they look into a loan that has lower payments at the beginning, and the payments then increase during the life of the loan. What type of loan is this? It's graduated payment mortgage. Gregory's loan is $150,000 for it to be considered qualified mortgage. The points and fees cannot exceed. Is it 6%? No, it's fucking 3%. Gosh dang it. 4,500. What entity was created by CSBS and AAR to purpose the license and registering mortgage loan originators? CSBS created the NMLS. Legal link between a person who owns a property and the property itself is the legal link between a person who owns a property and it's the title. A lender is required to keep a copy of the closing disclosure for 5 years. The law requires identification be provided on a mortgage transaction. What law requires identification be provided on the mortgage transaction? I mean, the U.S. Patriot Act requires you to identify. Red Hat rules just helps you clear off credit. That's banking. Graham Leach Riley, that's opt out. That's consumer protection. Renee is a real estate broker working for a property developer. She's been going door to door discussing with homeowners in a certain area the possibility of them selling. She often tells these homeowners that there's been an increase of Latinos moving into the area and they really should move now before the property value drops. That's blockbusting. Which disclosure that is required to be sent 3 days after the application indicates the borrower whether or not the servicing of their loan may be sold or transferred? Which disclosure required to be sent 3 days after the application indicates the borrower whether that'd be the home loan toolkit, right? Required to be sent 3 days after application indicates the borrower whether or not. That would be if they were recommending a titling service, etc. Service providers list. I don't know what that is. The mortgage servicing disclosure. I don't know if that's inclusive. I think it's part of the toolkit. For a loan to be considered a general QM loan, it must meet certain requirements. Which of the following is not of those requirements? The borrower's back-end debt to income cannot exceed 32%. The loan cannot have any negative amortization. General QM. The loan cannot have interest-only payment. The loan, let's see, which of the following is not one of those requirements? The loan is not a requirement. The loan cannot have a term longer than 30 years. For it to be considered a general QM loan, it must meet certain requirements. Which of the following is not one of those requirements? I see loan cannot have any negative am. That's not true because an ARM would technically qualify. Which of the following debt to income back in DTI? That's technically not a requirement either. I mean, there's a requirement that it can't exceed 30 years, right? Can't have negative am. So hacking wouldn't be a type of QM. Well, can I have interest-only payment? John intentionally tells the mortgage loan originator that he is working for that he only pays $1,500 in child support when he pays $22,000 in child support. This would be considered material misstatement. Which of the following would not be prohibited practice regarding the appraisal? Practice regarding the appraisal. Which of the following would not be prohibited practice regarding an appraisal? Refusing to use an appraiser again if they do not change the value of the appraisal, that's illegal. Not be prohibited. Bribing, that's illegal. Requesting would not requesting that the appraiser reviews additional comparables. Yeah, the rest of those are all super illegal. Which of the following would not be prohibited under the loan originator comp rule? Low comp rule. Mortgage loan originator receives $5,000 bonus for loans over $250,000 and they close. No. Mortgage loan originator receives $1,000 for selling a loan with an interest rate of you can't do that. Mortgage loan originator receives 10% additional for each arm they close. That would be steering. Mortgage loan originator receives a flat fee for each loan that they close. Which of the following would be considered a mortgage loan originator? Alexi is discussing a rate lock with the borrower. Jackson is discussing with a borrower the need of additional documentation for the loan. That may be an underwriter. Henry is determining whether a borrower can repay the proposed loan. Jane is requesting verification of employment from an borrower's employee. Underwriter or processor. Rate lock with the borrower. No. Henry's determining whether the borrower can repay a proposed loan. What type of appraisal takes the cost of rebuilding the property plus the cost of the land property is on and subtracts any depreciation determined by it? That's the cost approach. An Alt-A or Alt-Doc loan would be considered a type of jumbo loan. It's not subprime per se, but it goes out of the normal conventions. As part of a mortgage loan originator, applicants' pre-licensing education, how many hours must be focused on federal law? It's 3 hours. No, that's for continuing education. Pre-licensing education. Oh, fuck my life. I think it's... How many hours pre-licensing? So 3 hours is for continuing education. Is it 10 hours on federal? Is it 50%? No. Can't be 3 hours. Can't be 2 hours. 10 hours seems intense for 20 hours. We'll call. But there's 5 categories. So minimum 5 hours. It's one of the biggest parts of the test. Let's go with 10. Which best describes the housing ratio? Which best describes it's the total cost of all housing expenses divided by borrower's net monthly gross monthly. The total cost of debt divided by total cost of all housing expenses divided by gross monthly income. What would the minimum down payment on FHA loan be? 375 times 3, it's 11,250. A HECM is a reverse mortgage. What federal law allows borrowers to request PMI cancellation when their LTV reaches 80%? I think that's under HOIPA. I don't remember. Which of the following borrowers would be a good fit for a reverse mortgage? Owes his home. It was only $2,000 his current mortgage. Joanna is looking to purchase a single-family one-unit property with loan amount of $1.25 million. What type of loan would Joanna need to receive? It would be a jumbo line because it receives the dollar amount. What law allows for e-signatures as long as borrower? electronic signature, the E-Sign Act. Andrew's borrower wants to refinance his home, and Andrew has put together some great options. Of those options, Andrew wants his borrower to choose the ARM option because his company is giving bonuses to everyone who sells an ARM. Andrew pressures his borrower into choosing that option. Andrew's guilty of what? Steering. Which of the following is a government-sponsored entity? Government-sponsored entity. They don't sponsor. They don't sponsor. Federal Housing Administration, USDA. Government-sponsored. GSE. GSE. Which of the following is a government-sponsored? Fannie Mae. The GSE. Fannie Mae is a GSE. You can only select one. What the hell? When must the home loan toolkit be provided to the borrower on a purchase transaction? 3 days after the application. According to FACTA, how often is a consumer entitled to a free copy of the credit score? Once a year, annually. Which of the following transactions is not governed by TRID rules? TILA RESPA integrated disclosure rule. Closed end second. Which of the following transactions is not governed by new TRID rules? Heckam, I don't think Heckams are covered under. Refinance transaction, I don't think reverse mortgages are covered under TRID. Which of the following is not a HOIPA trigger test? Which of the following is not a HOIPA? Points and fees test. Because that would be to refinance. HOIPA wouldn't care about that. Which law promotes informed shopping by requiring disclosure of settlement services to the borrower? Which promotes informed shopping by requiring the disclosure of settlement services to the borrower? Truth in lending. I think it's under RESPA. Javier is looking to purchase a home, but he does not make enough money to obtain the loan amount he wants. Javier instead is looking for less expensive property. Changes his W to reflect that he is making an additional $1,000 a month. What type of fraud is this? Fraud for property. What federal law created the idea of qualified mortgages? How many hours of continuing education required of mortgage originators? 8. Which law prohibits discrimination based upon disability? Disability? That's going to be Fair Housing Act. Lender has policy that they never lend less than $70,000 because they can't make any money off loans over that. This would be disparate impact. I mean, it's discrimination, but it's disparate impact. A Section 203K loan is a... Fuck, I don't know. Oh, Section 203K. I mean, it sounds like a Fannie Mae program. Sounds like FHA. Which of the following is not a type of appraisal? Cost, income, investment. Which of the following is not considered a protected class under Reg B? disability. Reg B is ACOA. B fair. B ACOA. Reg B. Which Reg B is ACOA. I forget what Reg C is. God damn it. Travis is a mortgage loan originator. I'm almost done. Sweet baby Jesus. Travis is a mortgage loan originator, and he primarily does refinances for borrowers. He has a borrower, Steve, who calls him once a year to refinance, and every time Travis refinances property, even though Steve does not need to refinance. Travis does this to make sure that he receives the fees for the refinance. What would this be considered? Chunky. Jordan has a Chapter 7 bankruptcy on her credit report. How long can the bankruptcy stay on her? Bankruptcy continue to stay on her credit report. $7 years? 10 years, 7 years, 10 years, 7 years. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, 7 years. How many years of employment is required to be disclosed on the 1003? 2 years. For an interest-only loan of $410,000, what is the interest rate with an interest rate of 6%? What would the monthly interest payment be? So it's 410 divided by 12. Oh, no. Yeah. Do. What law requires the collection of race, ethnicity, and sex for purpose of preventing and detecting discriminatory practices? That's HMDA. Which of the following would not be considered non-traditional mortgage? Which of the following would not be considered a non-traditional mortgage product? A conventional 30-year mortgage. That's traditional. Fuck, man. Oh. Well, we kind of did it, but because 75% is passing, but it's not really passing. So